Hello comrades and welcome to a unique little game called Precipice. It just came out a few days ago and it's basically a kind of little political, international, strategic simulator kind of thing. Obviously set in a Cold War, but in a kind of alternate universe, anthropomorphized Cold War where all the people are replaced by different kinds of animals, and it's actually kind of amazing. I mean, it doesn't impact the gameplay, but the whole aesthetic of the game is really unique and charming, and I love it. Like, look at this, just this little bear guy. Like, it's like a furry world, but not gross, you know? It's really cool. And the mechanics of the game are very interesting, and there are some things that I have some issues with, and we'll get into that. But let's just dive right into the game. So, there are a few scenarios that already exist. There's the classic map, right? The Cold War, basically. Then there's the Land Rush, which is like a kind of randomized sandbox kind of thing where nobody is your ally at the beginning. And then there's American Hell, which is just America versus the rest of the world, which has somehow magically become communist. And yeah, the back art is awesome. For some reason, all of the Berliners are mice or shrews or whatever they're called. But yeah, look at my player stats. Win percentage versus AI, 0.04. Preferred side, USSR. Yeah. So yes, let's start. Choose our side. United States of America, obviously a bald eagle. And the sign Soviet Socialist Republics. Get it? Because it's a bear, because Russians. Am I right? Now, at the beginning you get to pick 3 perks. I feel like, in my experience, they're mostly useless, but I guess they give you a bit of a bonus. So, USSR detection of clandestine activities in these areas. I usually go with Agent Fedora, which means that the US cannot deploy into Gulf states, which is useful. Thailand, which is definitely useful. And let's say our detection of activities in Cuba is improved, because I imagine America will try to do with something with Cuba. This is not a war game. Both you and your rival possess the necessary firepower to annihilate each other with the push of a button. The path to the path to victory, I think it said, will require diplomacy, subterfuge, and something else. So yes, this is the game map, and it's got a very unique kind of little aesthetic. It almost looks like it borrows a bit from Orwell, the game, I mean. Which is really cool, and I really like it. But like, one of the neatest features is that every single country that's on the map has their own little animal thing. Like, for example, the USSR obviously is the big bear, right? Then China, obviously a panda, right? Mongolia, this thing, I guess. Then North Korea, a boar, I suppose. South Korea is a raven. Japan is a fox, and they all have their own different thing, and it's really cool. Like, obviously India is a Bengal tiger. What's Australia? Of course it's kangaroo. And New Zealand is a kiwi. I just think that's hilarious. Obviously USA is the eagle. Canada is a beaver, I think, or a marmot. I think it's a beaver. Mexico is what is that? Wildcat, maybe? I don't know. I'm not good with animals. I just spent like an hour just looking out at all these little... Look at that, Argentina. It's a little flamingo. How cool is that? I just spent like an hour looking at all of them, and they're all just so interesting. Yeah, obviously Peru is a llama, just look at that. God. Oh, Ecuador has the Galapagos turtles, that's awesome. It's like a BoJack Horseman Cold War thing, except with no humans. It's really cool. I really like how they've done it. Well, look at this crocodile. A hippo. Sorry, I'm just gushing over the fact that all the animals, all the countries are represented by animals. All the Eastern Bloc countries are here. Well, no, not all of them. Czechoslovakia and Hungary and Austria have been absorbed into just this one blob. And Romania and Bulgaria also were assimilated into one, which, I mean, okay, I guess. A bit weird. Yeah, when you have countries like Ecuador represented, and, you know, like Zimbabwe, and Botswana and stuff, but not like Romania. Whatever. Yeah, like this is Bulgaria, you know, and Romania is like 3 times as big as Bulgaria. Okay, whatever. I'm just talking nonsense. Because this game is very interesting in its mechanics. So how basically you play the game is you have a bunch of little things that you can do. There are 4 different resources. There's oil, food, logs, and manufactured goods. And we as the USSR, we're currently lacking food. Haha, well memed. And you can, in the bottom left over here, you can look at little supplies of places. So food supply, and these are the places that create food. So we are friendly with Chile and India, so you'll want to make a trade agreement, but you can't do that on turn 1. So we'll try to either do an invasion of Thailand or deploy agents. So yeah, basically you click on a country and you can do different interactions with them depending on their level of allegiance. For example, if a country is blue, it's aligned with America, you can do protests. I mean, if a country is very stable, you can do protests. And then you can do things. But obviously the catch is that once you do these hostile actions, there's a chance that the opposition will discover them and try to interfere and prevent you from doing that. And if there's a standoff, it can lead to a nuclear war unless one side backs down with severe penalties. So it's one of those situations, and it's a really interesting mechanic, but it has a major flaw, which I'll get into a bit later. So yes, in Thailand we will send an agent and we will support an insurgency. Give them a bunch of guns. Okay. Brush fire conflict. Yeah, there's a chance that when you support insurgents in a place, that like some random place in the other part of the world can also have that happen. Which, I mean, sure, I guess. Let's fund some more insurgents. Nice. And we'll continue with that next turn, and we'll just use our remaining... Oh yeah, you get 5 actions per turn. It's represented by this little wad of cash. And we'll give some foreign aid to Vietnam, because they're not very stable. Hopefully it works. You are most generous. There you go. Increase to 2 pips. So yeah, countries can have stability ranging from 1 to 4. 4 means they're very stable. 1 obviously means they're on the verge of collapse, and that's when you know, fund militias and have coups and everything like that happen. Which is all nice and lovely. Yes, I have 3 agents, and America has 3 agents, and each turn you get to deploy them wherever you want, and you can also counter-spy, which gives you a chance to assassinate an enemy agent. And once you assassinate an enemy agent, they're gone for the rest of the game. So that's obviously very powerful and very big deal. Also, there's a little space race kind of thing, although I don't really see its utility. I guess it just gives you a bunch of influence points at the end of the game. Yeah, but I've never actually reached that point, because every single time I've played this game, it ends in global thermonuclear war. Yeah, so end turn. And you can see up there, the United States deployed and everything like that. Oh, they invaded Chile, which isn't great. So the United States has formed a defensive pact with France and has stationed a large quantity of troops there. Do we want to respond? We will ignore that. And they've also invaded the sovereign nation of Chile, and we will also ignore that. Because, well, first of all, Chile is not that important to us, and also we don't mind there being troops in France. We don't really plan on taking out France earlier. But Chile, instead of just like protesting in the UN, we can just aid the partisans, give them weapons, and give them a 50-50 chance of winning. And the more wars that you are involved in, the more your people get tired. There's domestic unrest. And also the more you protest and have conflicts at the UN that escalate, the unrest rises, and eventually your country can collapse. So basically the kind of meta for this game is to play very peacefully and not invade, but like support insurgencies and coups, and just wait for your opponent to exhaust himself in like constant wars. Because yeah, the AI in this game, I don't want to say it's bad. It's certainly got a certain kind of personality to it, but it's very suicidal, so to speak, and we'll see that soon. So yes, we have 4 more actions left. Let's support some insurgents in Thailand. They did nothing, which is great. So yeah, this kind of little bullseye thing is the chance of this action succeeding, and this little magnifying glass is the chance of America finding out. 50% chance seems really high, but okay, let's just try it again. Okay. Started a conflict in Nigeria, I think. That's my African geography is really bad. And did nothing in Thailand, which is obviously lovely. Let's fund some more insurgents. There we go, dropped it down to 1, so next turn hopefully we can have a coup in Thailand. And since Thailand is surrounded by red countries, that increases the probability of the coup succeeding, which is a really good mechanic, and I like that. My biggest problem with this game is that like 90% of the game relies on the random number generator, which is a bit shit, in my honest opinion. Because, for example, next turn America could just decide to invade Mongolia, and I say like, what? No, what the fuck? And I protest at the UN, and a nuclear war starts, and it's game over. You know, it's shit like that. Oh, I think the music is too loud, feck. The soundtrack is pretty good. But yeah, what can often happen is that, for example, I support Cuba or station some troops somewhere, and the USA is like, back off. And then I don't, and they just nuke me. And yeah, it's suicidal, that's essentially what it is. Because the goal of this game is to avoid thermonuclear war. But your opponent, regardless of who you play as, will do everything they can to ensure that it happens. And it's kind of fucked up, you know. I'm not sure if it's a bad feature of the game and I don't like it, or it's actually a very subtle meta commentary on the entire Cold War and how it's miraculous that we managed to survive this period, when so many times it could have gone so horribly wrong. You know, maybe that's what they're trying to say, but also I don't feel like a video game in which you're trying to achieve a certain goal is the right way to go about doing that. Right, so Yemen is very unstable, so let's give them some foreign aid. Hopefully that works. There we go, nice. We still need that food, so hopefully our little project in Thailand goes well. Let's go. America's trading with India, that's not great. Alright, so they deployed a spy somewhere, and what we can do is that we can use one of our action points to infiltrate the CIA. And this shows us the regions where they used spies. So, okay. In South Asia, so probably in one of these countries, also in South America. I'm assuming that they did it in Argentina. I was wrong. Right. Maybe in India. Actually, no, I don't want to waste my thing. Ah, shit, I can't do the coup because it costs 3 action points. Okay, fair enough. I want to trade with India. Trade agreement, there we go. See, now we're gaining food, that's very nice. And China, they need oil, we have oil, and they provide manufactured goods. That works for us. And if you're in a trade agreement with a country for long enough, they flip to like full colored red, which means they're like super good buddies. So you see, for example, here, this country, Sudan, is surrounded by red countries, which means that a coup there would be, would have a very high chance of succeeding. So we might want to do that soon. Now, there's a world event, India and China. Yeah, there's a few of these things where if you have a certain resource and certain amount of influence, you can do a thing. So yeah, India and China are two great nations that have been burdened by a legacy of Western imperial rule and meddling. Now both nations are emerging global players in their own right, bringing with them the rise of hundreds of millions of people out of poverty and an insatiable demand for oil. Supplying both nations with oil will secure our place in their economy and our political future in the region. Right, so we want to grab some oil. First of all, I want to continue grabbing some food in Thailand, and then we can focus on Saudi Arabia, which of course have tons of oil. Let's see who else have oil. Venezuela, naturally. But you see the darker, deeper colors are of course where it's most, so Saudi Arabia. Which is very stable, as you can see. It's a horse. Nice. What's the Thai one? I don't know what that is. But yeah, I could just spend hours looking at all the little animal pictures. It's really cool. What's the Italian one? It's just a wolf. The Spanish one is like a bull in like a military uniform. It's pretty cool. The French is a cock, which is nice. That's a badger, right? The British one. Oh yeah, Norway annexed Denmark in this timeline at some point, which is cool, I guess. Finland is a swan. Nice. So yeah, next turn. Sorry if I'm taking too long, I just really like the aesthetic and the whole kind of theme that this game is going for. It's really cool. I just feel like there are some problems with the game mechanics. So let's try to actually perform our coup. You see, because you see those little arrows from Thailand and Burma? It's because they're red, so that increases the success chance of our coup. And boom, there we go. Now it's deep red. Let's send them some foreign aid and withdraw our agents. Lovely. Now we're going to be making lots of food. Now the thing is that now next turn America might make a diplomatic protest, and then we'll see what happens. So I'll use my remaining thing to fund our space race a bit, just to remain ahead of the Americans. Nice. So there we go. The United States has issued a formal denouncement of your support of the coup d'etat in Thailand. So showing weakness in front of the United States now will only bolster capitalist momentum and cause you to lose influence in Libya. So we can terminate aid, which means Libya stops liking us, and the country you did the actions in goes fully capitalist, which is, or to your enemy's side, which is, I feel like, such an absurd mechanic. Like, yes, okay, maybe you withdraw and the country becomes gray, neutral again, but like, you withdraw from the country and it immediately, the same turn snaps to a capitalist vassal of America. And that just seems silly and unrealistic. But whatever. That's just a pet peeve. So yes, we'll justify our aid. And there you go, you see, we're closer to nuclear war. The United States has brought the violent coup d'etat in Thailand before the UN Security Council. They are calling for a UN intervention, hoping you will be forced to withdraw your support for the new dictator, or be forced to admit your involvement in the capitalist plot. You're in the courtroom of world opinion. How do you proceed? So now that we're farther up towards nuclear war, showing weakness will now make a lot of more other countries hate us, or less, or support us less. So we support the communists. Now we're closer to nuclear war. The United States has stated that your financial and military support of the illegitimate regime, oh my god, I can't speak today, of the illegitimate regime in Thailand will be treated as an act of war. Their armed forces have been put on high alert. Nice. So you see, even more countries would drop out. So obviously we have to ready our nuclear missiles. The United States has gone to DEFCON 2. They are fueling ICBMs in preparation for a war. And now if we show weakness, like, the entire socialist world will hate us. So obviously, Zapusk. And there you go. Failure. Nuclear war has broken out between the two superpowers. Nobody survives the radiation and global cooling of nuclear winter. Your legacy is irrelevant. Everything is lost. Yep, I feel like this is the canonical ending of the game, is the only ending I've been able to get, because, again, my major problem is that the AI just behaves in a completely unpredictable, random, and unrealistic way. Which, yes, like, it works to heighten tension, makes gameplay more difficult and challenging and repetitive, which I like, but also I feel like it relies on the RNG element just a little bit too much. I hope that they kind of work towards that somehow in the future, and that's what a lot of people on the Steam page are talking about, that the RNG element, that the unpredictability and the absurdity of the AI's actions sometimes is the major kind of low point for a lot of people, and I agree. But overall, I think it's a really interesting idea that has an amazing aesthetic, an amazing theme, and is already quite a long way to being a really good game. But I just hope that they continue to improve it. And I hope you like this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like and subscribe. Join us in our Discord, or leave something in the comments below and we can talk and chill and hang out. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.